Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the Mercury Retrograde that will take place or start on Halloween, October the 31st, trick or treaty, and it ends on November the 21st. So this is going to be totally in the sign of Scorpio, and it's going to travel from 27 degrees of Scorpio back to 11 degrees of Scorpio, and it will station retrograde conjunct the planet Venus, which of course is the goddess of love and war as well, don't forget. Also, interestingly, the last Mercury retrograde also stationed retrograde when conjunct the planet Mars. So we sort of have a theme from one to the other. So it will station retrograde conjunct Venus on Ptolemy, which is the star in the wound on the thigh of the Centaur. Constellation Centaurus is actually Chiron made of stars. So then this is a fantastic time to heal old love wounds from an ex-lover. It might also be a good time for reconciliation to take place in romantic relationships that have become painful. So now, I thought this was kind of interesting. This is why I called this post Healing Venom, because Wayne Herbert, a linguistics professor at Cornell University, states that Venus and venom come from the same root, meaning love. In Latin, venenum, from which venom comes, originally meant love potion, but over time it came to mean poison. So I did have a feeling that they were connected, hence the title. So Mercury is also associated with medicine and with the scorpion stinger, I think, of anti-venom and inoculations as well. So excuse me if my voice sounds a bit snotty. I've had the worst flu, and that's why I haven't been able to do any videos either. So go on holiday, feel great for about a week, and then everyone starts getting colds at school, so I've caught it off my daughter. Anyway, so I need some healing venom. Anyway, so Mercury on Ptolemy at 29 degrees. I've also got brain frog. Yeah, I've got a frog on my throat and a brain frog as well. So Mercury on Ptolemy is changeable, vacillating, fault-finding, difficult to please, good intellect, business success, trouble in domestic affairs through enemies, family sickness and disappointed ambitions, and that's according to Robson. But Bernadette Brady says it's dedicated to spreading information, one who's dedicated to the truth, who passionately pursues the answers, a time when people's emotions are stirred. So, yeah, well, that's the collective meaning for it as well. So I think, I will look at the charts of the US and the UK as well, because we're at a very weird point of the year. You know, clocks go backwards, we're going into the dark, and also Brexit is or isn't happening in the UK. And God knows what's happening in the US. I haven't been able to catch up with much of the news because I've been obsessed with Brexit. But I know that Trump's pulled out the troops from Syria, so that's good, isn't it? But anyway, he can't do anything right, according to the press. So I don't know. I haven't found anything that stands out like, hey, peace has happened. Anyway, probably not. So I don't suppose he's going to win the Nobel Priest Prize. God, I'm really sorry. My brain is really full of frogs. The Nobel Priest or Preach Prize or Peace Prize. Anyway, the Nobel Peace Prize is just a joke anyway. So, yeah. So back to the Mercury retrograde. I like the chart for it because you get this nice little trio of Ceres and the Moon and Jupiter. So that's all those three together are very fertile, and they're also on Lesath too. Actually, no, they're closer. Yeah, they are. The singer of the Scorpion. So that's why, again, there's a lot of Scorpio theme. Now, okay, there is a difference between sidereal Scorpio and tropical Scorpio. So sidereal Scorpio has the moon at 23 degrees is sidereal Scorpio, really, and that's why it's on the stinger of the Scorpio, but in Sagittarius. And then Scorpio itself is where the Mercury retrograde is, so it's very scorpionic, very venomous, and I just think, yeah, the theme is definitely there. The sun is actually on gay crux for the Mercury retrograde, which is the crucifix, so I think a very poignant one and a very penetrating one. I don't know why. I just thought of the crown of thorns, and also the nails that went through the wrists of Jesu as well. So quite torturous, really. Yet we have Mercury conjunct Venus as well. So I suppose it's a bit of a femme fatale kind of feeling, really. But I do think it is a good one for healing love wounds. So if you want to find out the times and all the details of Mercury retrograde, just go to the post that I'll link to in the description below. But in the US, it goes retrograde before noon of October the 31st. So by the night of Halloween, it's definitely going to be retrograde. So we start off the retrograde with Mercury in Scorpio Decan 3, and it could fall two ways here, as either it's a superb spy who works ethically to uncover the truth for the greater good of humanity, or it can be a high-class swindler. So this is very interesting in terms of Brexit, because this is the day, by the way, the 31st, we're supposed to be leaving, but with or without a deal, do or die. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. But I will look at the charts. But it's funny because I just wonder what sort of chicanery is going to be going on this day. It really is a trick or treaty. It's very much the trickster, so very apt. I also found that there were some very dark criminals with this position, due to, of course, Mercury being the thief and the trickster, and this energy can chop and change with ease and wear many different masks as well. So generally it's very hard to see the reality behind the disguise, or the very gifted actor as well. Now the mind is very sharp but difficult to read, and those who will be touched by this Mercury retrograde will be fantastic at reading others' minds, and psychic powers are at their peak. This is the chameleon who can so easily be the invisible man. Nobody notices Mercury Scorpio 3, so it makes a great spy. And Austin Kopok calls this decan the Crow, and talks about the tarot card associated with it, which is the Seven of Cups, and that's called debauchery in the Crowley deck. Agrippa says of this card it signifies drunkenness, fornication, wrath, violence and strife. And Kopok himself states of Mercury in this decan, streams of perverse thought and strange desires flow through the minds of these natives. They often have a capacity for great psychological depth, for many learn to swim these rivers, following them back to their hidden source. So it's very hard to know just how debaucherous the energy really is. So keep your wits about you at this Mercury retrograde. So as always, halfway through the Mercury retrograde period journey, we have Sun Kadzimi Mercury, where it will be exactly conjunct the Sun, and it has to be within 17 minutes. So I've got the times again on the post, you can check them out. So it's going to be on the fixed star Zubin El Shkimali. I love that word, Zubin El Shkimali, and this is the lucky star in the scales of Libra, and it is alert, active, favors from influential people, good position, much expenditure, benefits through writings. So writers will have a good time during that. So it's a fortunate star because it's supposed to be the scale of gain as well. So this is a window of opportunity where if we wanted to send a message or start something, which normally, during Mercury retrograde, everyone says, don't start anything new. This would be the moment to do it. So again, I've got the times in the post. But it will be November the 11th, and it will be in the morning, again, in the US, and in the afternoon in the UK. So now Then Mercury goes into, actually on November the 11th, it will be in Scorpio Decan 2, and it will be there until the end of the Mercury Retrograde, which is at 21 November. So during that time, it will hit a lot of stars, actually. They're all kind of bunched together. So the lucky star, Zubin el-Shkamali, that's on November the 11th. November the 14th is Zubin el-Janubi, which is the scale of loss, so not so lucky, that one. Alphecca on November the 16th. Acrux, the crucifix, on November the 18th, and November the 20th will be Mimosa, which is a very psychic star. So they're all quite, yeah, I mean, the last two are quite spiritual. Alphecca is just a bit of a frivolous star. It's on the crown, and it's actually very Venusian as well. So it's quite vain as well. And but if you want to do something frivolous on that day, November the 16th, that's probably okay. Why not? You know, with all this heaviness and stinging venom, I think Alphecca in between all that would be quite a good laugh. So Mercury Scorpio Decan 2, this is again more storytelling and crafty trickster energy. These are the sort of spies that can spin the most convincing story to get into your or anybody else's X-Files. Mercury is the mind, so of course these people will make fantastic psychologists, marketers and propagandists at this time. Now, of course, mentioning Zubin el-Janubi, the star of loss, Mercury can be quite treacherous and have criminal tendencies here. So yeah, watch your belongings at this time. If you have anything in your chart that is very close to 15 degrees of Scorpio, where Zubin el-Janubi is. So this is a very charming and seductive Mercury too as well. So such covert working can leave those touched by this trickster energy feeling ripped off, bitter and resentful. Mercury has some dignity here by term, which is small, but it is quite useful. So Mercury here can be obsessive over a subject and therefore very focused when it comes to study or research. So it is a good time for studying and doing exams if you're doing them at this time. In love, though, we could be so fixated with our beloved that it will feel uncomfortably intense to the point of stalking. So at this time, those touched by this Mercury retrograde should put their energies into writing a novel rather than sending endless soppy texts and emails to their partner. It's not romantic to feel like you have to reply to endless communications. Yeah, it does seem like there's a very kind of stalking love potion type of energy with this Mercury retrograde. It's got a love theme to it, I think. So yeah, love spells, because remember, Mercury is the magician as well. So let's just have a look at the geopolitical implications, because for the US, it is in their 12th house of hidden enemies. So it's the deep state, isn't it? And on October the 31st, when it's stationing retrograde, it's actually going to be square the US moon. So that is the 8th house. I mean, this is kind of bringing up, wow, I think this Halloween is going to really bring up the demons in the US. So see what happens. I mean, I think people are going to really go to town with Halloween this time. And there may even be, I don't know, some protests against it in some way. Or I bet it'll be used for some kind of, oh, this is cultural appropriation, you can't wear this, and I don't know. There's going to be some scandal or something in the news about Halloween, I reckon, and it'll be turned into it'll be used as spin for propaganda purposes. Oh, I just realised I hadn't precessed the chart, and it's very important for the US for that because it's such an old chart. So no, it's not squaring the chart, the US moon, but it is trining Mercury, which is still in the 8th house, which is still trickster energy as well. And Mercury is retrograde in the US chart as well. So kind of similar meanings. I do get the feeling that Halloween's going to be a big deal in the US for this one. For the UK, it takes place in their second house of money, and it's going to oppose Ceres, the Persephone theme, which is in the UK's 8th house as well. So this kind of 8th house theme of the taboo, resurrection as well, and psychological self-examination. It's and also debt. Yes, debt. I think for the UK, but also the US as well, because I didn't think of that. The debt aspect, money issues. Yeah, but the UK, it will also square Saturn as well. So it's a harder Mercury retrograde for the UK. Of course it is, because of the whole Brexit thing going on at the same time. And Mercury is about merchants and making deals as well. And so opposite, trade deals, that's exactly it. And opposite Ceres, that can be sort of agricultural policy too. And this is at around November the 3rd. But then Mercury trines the moon of the UK, and the moon is the public. And I mean, I think that will be good news for the public, for the general public. And since most of average people voted to leave, maybe there's some good news on November the 8th. Let's hope so. But the reason this is important as well is the moon being the common people. The common people voted to leave, but we have a Remain government, we have a Remain media, and we have a Remain courts, and we have a Remain, civil service. So the fact that people still voted to leave with all that against them just goes to show how strong the feelings are. November the 9th, Mercury retrograde will be on the UK's Neptune. So that's big lies, deception. So, this is going to be a very eventful one for the UK, much more than the US. Oh, and then November the 10th, Mercury is squaring Venus. So, it's never ending. It's one aspect after the other. Now, Mercury square Venus in the house of lovers or children, like the future of the UK, and money, I guess, as well. Budgeting. So I think a lot of things are going to be discussed over November. November the 14th, Mercury retrograde opposite the UK Mars in the 8th house of debt as well. And that's going to be hate speech, people being banned as well. I mean, in England, we don't have the freedom of speech protection either. So that's another thing. Yeah, so very busy Mercury for the UK. Now, Mercury for them, it rules our 9th house of, there you go, foreign relations, the UK. And also the hidden enemies, the 12th house also. So basically just describing what is going on in the UK, really, isn't it? So that's the geopolitical section. Now let's look at what it means for each sign. So with Aries, your nervous energy is going to be really high during this time, and you could be quite a worrywart. Now, I think the best thing that you can do really is try and calm down, because it can feel like an old vinyl record stuck in a groove, and you could have anxieties that do spiral out of control as you become obsessed with every minutia of your life. So it is the health house, so you could become quite a hypochondriac as well at this time. But there's a really positive way to deal with it, and that means that is by really going deeply into researching whatever is concerning you. So instead of just worrying in ignorance, become an expert, study all the facts of your symptoms or whatever it is that is bothering you, and just keep testing do tests, maybe blood tests or something like that. But really, yeah, just get into the analytical side of the Mercury retrograde, and maybe it's a good opportunity to do some medical tests, or even if you don't go to the doctor, just maybe go to a kinesiologist and just have a kind of alternative health checkup. So that would be a good thing to do during this time. But also bear in mind there's a love theme going on with this one as well. So you could become actually quite lovesick if you have fallen for someone. And just remember to eat, because maybe, you could lose a lot of weight during this retrograde, which might not be a bad thing. With Taurus, it's going to be in your marriage house. So this is going to be doubly romantic for you. And yes, could be quite obsessive as well. But you will need to sit down and have that big talk. And it is kind of like a medical for your love life. And, you will need the help of your partner to problem solve. 2 heads are better than 1, as they say. And as this is also the house of contracts, I would avoid entering one for now, because you could easily change your mind as well. So, also if your partner is trying to get you to sort of sign on the dotted line, maybe not at this time, but do have open communications. You could even have communications from an ex at this time as well. And if it happens, it usually does the trick of making you see why they were an ex in the first place, just in case time has rose-tinted your memories of them. So I think stick with your current partner. Don't do anything silly if an ex comes back into your life. Gemini, this is going to fall in your 8th house of the underworld. So Mercury is going to steal Pluto's invisible helmet and go deep into the recesses of your own mind. But you could also want to penetrate the psyche of a loved one as well. So just be careful that you respect the boundaries of your partner, because the questions you ask could easily become an unhealthy invasion of their privacy. The transit can feel to others around you that they're being interrogated by the Gestapo. So avoid this tendency by investigating the human psyche in general, rather than experimenting with actual human brains. And you could feel also unusually psychic at this time, since the ability to effortlessly pass through different dimensions is enhanced. So for Cancer, this is going to take place in your house of travel. And so usually it's, oh no, don't travel during Mercury retrograde. But the best way around that will probably be to learn a foreign language, or study somewhere foreign, or just get into mind expansion as well, and do revision. Revision, if you're revising for exams, is really good. Or you could actually visit somewhere that you've already been, like revisit somewhere. So you can still travel, and it will be a good one as well, because I think it's, especially if it's got a theme to do with ancient cultures, or somewhere that's got sacred sites as well, and also reunions with old friends. If you're going to travel somewhere to visit an old friend from the past, I think it would be nice. That would be a good use of the energy. Leo, it's time for a rebrand for your business, especially if you've got an online presence, because it's going to be in your 10th house. So rebranding, unveiling a new look, and also the ways how you communicate to the wider world is under review. And you might have to hold back while you rethink your presentation strategy as well. There could be an incident where there's actually some kind of miscommunication, which makes you realise that you do have to work on making yourself clearer. Learning a new skill at this time would be really good as well. And I think taking time out to do some housekeeping, admin, that would be quite good as well. Sales could also go quite slowly at this time if that's the business that you're in, and you might have to make a few refunds as well, but it's just Mercury retrograde, and things will get better after it finishes. But it might be all right. I'm a big believer in transcending the planets and making them work for you. So maybe it just should be a review. Use it for a review or a rebrand or something where you go over old stock maybe as well, something like that. For Virgo, this is going to be in your hopes and dreams sector, which will force you into facing whether your hopes are realistic or not. So it's a time to revise your goals. Are they too high or are they not high enough? And because there's a love theme as well, are you being realistic in relationships as well? But at the same time, you could do some magical thinking as well. So if you're not in a relationship, maybe, I don't know, draw your perfect guy or gal and get creative with it. Make a collage, stick fantasy pictures up of who you'd like to be with and where, and your dream home or whatever. Why not? You can, have fun with it. Also, another possibility at this time is making new friends from a much younger crowd than usual, and that will give you a fresh new perspective on life. So it is like going back. It will feel like you're sort of going back in time by having younger friends, if that makes sense. So there's always this kind of revival type feeling with Mercury. For Libra, it's going to be in your 12th house, so that is very much the hermit, wanting to retreat from communicating with the world as well. And it might be because you feel that whatever you say may be misconstrued, or every word that tumbles out of your mouth will cause chaos. You might also feel very triggered as well by things, because this is the house of hidden enemies, and you can be your own worst enemy as well. So if that's the case, you're probably best to ban yourself from any internet forums, because you could end up being, the total troll at this time. Mercury is clowning around in this the zone of self-undoing, so self-censorship might be wise in the outside world as well. So yeah, it's a good time to do meditation, shut off the monkey mind and just clear the chatter and see if you can have some sort of control over it. So yeah, a good time for training or retraining the mind. For Scorpio, this is actually going to be in your sign. So this is very, very important for you to get your thoughts really clear before you express yourself, because everything that you say is going to be really amplified. So, and Mercury retrograde also has the effect of echoing messages, tweets, or letters over time, so that it's not easy to forget the words that are said. So it's of utmost important that you mean what you say and say what you mean at this time, because any communications you make will stick around as if they were engraved onto clay tablets and will last just as long. You will closely be identified with anything you write. So if you need to express your personal truth for posterity, now is the time to prepare for that. So, but just wait till after it's Mercury's direct to officially publish anything. But it's a really good time to really set something in stone that you feel very strongly about. It's also a great time to examine how certain words affect your body. Books that you read at this time will be felt very viscerally. Sagittarius, you are going to be salesperson supreme at this time because it's in your house of cash. You'll have a natural feeling for buying and selling, but it might not be the perfect time to sign the contract for a large purchase, such as a car or a house, but you'll do quite well testing ideas out and dealing in actual retro items. So you could pick up some real bargains in an auction. Also, if you've got a particularly strong natal Mercury. So yeah, a good time for bargain hunting. Also, it's quite good for buying clothes online, because then you can try clothes on at home with other outfits, and you could also do well writing for money at this time about subjects that are to do with self-worth and ways to boost self-esteem. Capricorn, this is a great time for in-depth researching because it's in your third house. You'll be feeling much more inclined to spend time looking into loads of different topics and getting your teeth into some really juicy subject matter as well. Those studying for exams will find they can easily get their head down and ignore the pressure from parties and temptations outside. Now, also, if you are writing a thesis, you'll actually find it quite hard to actually stop digging for information and finally start putting it all down on paper. So it might be easier to start composing important writings when Mercury is direct in this house, so you don't get too annoyed with yourself for maxing out Kindle downloads. For Aquarius, this will be in your fourth house of home, so you'll feel like withdrawing from discussions with those in the outside world at this time. Really not in the mood for heated debates on current affairs. Instead, it seems that your thoughts are looking into the distant past and maybe old memories are coming back to haunt you. Try to think of what could be sparking off this nostalgia. The information you're receiving could be firing up those neural pathways through music you listened to as a teen, or maybe someone at work is wearing a fragrance that a past lover used to wear, so that could trigger these memories as well. And since this is the house of parents, this might be a good time for having a heart-to-heart and clearing up those childhood wounds, because this is a very healing one. As I said, releasing the venom. I mean, it could start off by a really, venomous fight with a parent where some really harsh words are said, but then you could sort of sit down and find out why they or you are so triggered. But yeah, some old wounds could be reopened, but it's something that needs to be done. So it'll be good to clear the festering resentment from the past. And lastly, Pisces, you probably have the most fun with this Mercury retrograde because it is in your house of love affairs, and Mercury can really play some tricks here and be more playful because it is quite childlike here. So you're very likely to have the urge to play pranks on people. But the problem here is that they could really backfire, so just don't. But you should take advantage of the silliness that is pervading the air and go and see some comedy shows or something like that. And also, this is the house of love affairs as well. And since there's a love theme, this might be a childhood sweetheart that you had as well. So you could have real fun together. Just enjoy the jokes and playing tricks on each other, and don't take it too seriously as well. Another thing as well, making babies might be well starred as well because it is the house of children. So yeah, everything to do with children is really well starred, and it's Halloween, so be a great time for a Halloween party. You'll probably enjoy it more than other people. And yes, playing pranks, it's just really made for you, this Mercury retrograde, perfect for Pisces. All right then, that does bring me to the end. No rant this time because I want to keep it short and sweet because I've got so many other videos to make. So we'll just stick to the Mercury retrograde, and I did do a bit of geopolitics, didn't I? And that's it. So have a great Mercury retrograde and happy healing. All the best. Bye-bye.